For those that don't know me, I am Paul Johnson. I'm the mayor of Delaware City. I'd like to officially welcome you to the event this morning and welcome to Delaware City. Residents, guests, fellow elected officials, park leadership, thank you for being here. Over the last couple of weeks, I thought long and hard about what I was going to say here this morning and what I couldn't add to the historical significance of Fort Delaware. So I wanted to speak a little bit about a personal experience, how Fort Delaware has affected me and this community over the 55 years that I've been here. I've literally spent thousands of hours on this waterfront, fishing, crabbing, playing in this lock, to the point where I got to a preteen, teenager, where parents entrusted me to go over to the island on the ferry with a bunch of friends and buddies and explore, and also use that as an opportunity to learn about Fort Delaware, which followed me all through my career, honestly. When I got to middle school and high school and they started talking about the Civil War and the role Fort Delaware played, I could speak firsthand intelligently because I've been there and was on the island and could speak about my experiences. To 1987, when I joined the fire service, one of the things that I enjoyed tremendously was sitting around talking to the older generation, who at that time, the older generation were born in the 1920s, 1930s. Some of them were military veterans that served in World War II, and would tell the stories about how the troops would come over, participate in our town events, our parades, use our stores, visit family members, and how much the fort and the history was intertwined in Delaware City, not only historically but also culturally in this community. To fast forward to now, when I'm mayor, now I'm the old guy telling the stories. So it's my responsibility, it's my duty to pass that historical knowledge down to the next generation. And one thing I don't know people know about Delaware City is we have a community in Delaware City. It's on the end of Hamilton Street, it's 5th and Hamilton. It's a residential community that those housing units were brought over from the island on a barge. They were the officers' quarters. They still are in place today and serve for residential housing over there. So we're not only physically connected to Fort Delaware historically, we're also culturally connected, and it's an honor for us to be a partner. And I thank you and I congratulate Secretary Patterson, State Parks, not only for the opportunity to be here today, but to also be a partner and to allow us to be good stewards of this monument moving forward, and we look forward to working to you into the future. Thank you very much.
Good morning. To the members of the Fort Delaware Society, to our partners at DENREC and Delaware State Parks, to our elected officials, and to everyone joining us here today. Greetings from the Delaware Public Archives. My name is Megan Peterman, and I am the Director and State Archivist at the Archives. We are here today to unveil a State of Delaware historical marker that shares the history of Fort Delaware, a site with a long military past, a central role during the Civil War, and a preservation story that ensured it was not lost. Built by the federal government in the mid-1800s on Pea Patch Island, the fort was designed to defend the Delaware River and protect the ports of Wilmington and Philadelphia. During the Civil War, it became a Union prison camp holding more than 33,000 Confederate and political prisoners. Roughly 2,400 men died here, many buried across the river at Finn's Point. That history is not abstract. It is still visible in the landscape today. Fort Delaware didn't fade after the Civil War. It remained in service through both World Wars before being transferred to the state of Delaware. In 1951, advocacy, led by the Fort Delaware Society, helped secure its preservation as one of the state's earliest parks, ensuring that the site would be maintained, interpreted, and accessible to the public. The State of Delaware Historical Marker program was established by the General Assembly in 1931 to commemorate points of historic interest throughout the state. Since then, more than 700 markers have been placed, and this is the 716th. Telling Delaware's story through its people, places of worship, historic buildings, and communities. It's important to note that while the Archives administers the marker program and ensures the historical accuracy of the text, these markers are initiated by private citizens, families, and organizations working in partnership with legislators who come forward to preserve and share important stories. Each marker represents a community's effort to ensure its history is not forgotten. Today, that purpose is realized again. This marker ensures that every visitor to Fort Delaware will encounter this history and have the opportunity to reflect on its significance. I want to extend a sincere thanks to the Fort Delaware Society for their continued advocacy and stewardship, whose dedication brought this marker to life. Thanks also to our partners at Delaware State Parks and DENREC for their dedication to preserving and interpreting this site. And thanks to Delaware Speaker of the House, Melissa Minor Brown, and Senator Nicole Poore for their support in making this marker possible. To all who contributed to this effort, your leadership and commitment ensure that Fort Delaware's history will continue to be preserved and shared with generations of Delawareans and visitors alike. At this time, it's my pleasure to turn things over to Greg Patterson, Secretary of the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control.
Good morning. I want to thank Mayor Johnson for letting us be in his town this morning, and thank Director Peterman for Public Archives' ongoing support of historical projects in Delaware State Parks, which is part of DENREC. Like the mayor, I have my own history with this fort. As a kid who grew up in Delaware, I had the children's book Pea Patch Island. Did anybody else have that? That told what I later realized was probably an apocryphal story about how the island came to be from a shipwrecked shipment of peas that grew up and created it. But I certainly had school field trips to the fort in my early years, and as secretary, I went out last October. I do what's called Field Trip Fridays, where every week we go out to a different park or wildlife area or DENREC project and show it off a little bit. And one of our ones in October was to the fort for a ghost tour. If you want to check that out, it's on DENREC and State Park social media. If I were you, I would watch it with the lights on. It's a little freaky. But I am certainly proud to be here to help with this recognition of Fort Delaware and its monumental position in our state and national history of protecting the country from the threat of war. As the director said, it was transferred to the state in 1944, and it is a military treasure, but also a natural one as well. The 248-acre Pea Patch Island is a sanctuary for migrating birds. It's got a heronry. There's an eagle and an osprey that you see out there. There's even a herd of deer out there. This is the 75th anniversary of Delaware State Parks that we are celebrating all year, and Fort Delaware was actually the second park in the Delaware State Park system after Trap Pond State Park. That was the first one, if you need that for bar trivia sometime. It is open from April to October with costumed interpreters who provide an illustration of life in the fort during the Civil War, and as the people who live around here know, occasionally fire the cannon as well. In recent years, State Parks has invested considerably in the fort, in a new tram path, in an ADA accessible heronry platform, in improved trails, in a screened platform out there, or pavilion out there for groups and events, and even in a new maintenance shed. And that has allowed us to keep telling the history of the fort. Last year, there were almost 16,000 visitors that made the trip out there, including about 3,500 school students. Tomorrow, now that this is the beginning of our fort season, tomorrow we will help open it up with a new event called Charge the Fort 5K, where a number of runners will actually do a couple laps around the fort, and we thank Race Roster, who is our partner in that. But all of these efforts, all of these events together have really made this a special place to visit, and it was recently featured in USA Today as a place to visit in celebration of America's 250th anniversary. So I'd like to recommend or recognize a number of groups that have been part of this. the 2nd Delaware Regiment reenactors who have provided the color and honor guard today, the Delaware River and Bay Authority, who are offering the transport out today, but have doing that every day that the fort has been open for decades. We have a lot of challenges at DENREC and a lot of things to worry about and take care of, but thanks to our partnership with DRBA and their expertise in running ferries, they have been great partners, and they take care of that end. I think Joe O'Neill from the State Parks Advisory Council, who is our chair, is here, so I wanted to recognize him. But I also really want to recognize the Delaware State Parks staff and volunteers who have taken such good care of this fort and improved it and made it such a great visitor experience over the years. We have a number of them here, but I especially want to call out Mark Wise, who is the superintendent of Fort Delaware and Fort DuPont and Fort Penn. Thank you. But like the director, I also want to recognize the Fort Delaware Society. As she said, it was their advocacy efforts 75 years ago that led to this becoming a state park, and their continued vision and hard work has helped make the fort what it is and led to this historic marker. So I want to introduce Mitch Cummings, the president of the Fort Delaware Society, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. This should only take about a half an hour or so. My name is Mitchell Cummings. I have the honor of serving as the president of Fort Delaware Society. Fort Delaware Society was founded in 1950 with a clear and enduring purpose: to preserve Fort Delaware and its history for future generations. Our mission states that we strive to foster an awareness of the existence and significance of historic Fort Delaware and to preserve its legacy. That mission is not just a statement, it's a responsibility. It's a commitment that's been carried forward for over 70 years by dedicated individuals who believe that this place matters. The marker that we're unveiling today is a direct reflection of that commitment. It stands not just as a physical object, but as a symbol, one that connects the past to the present and ensures that the story of the fort will continue to be told well into the future. For generations to come, people will pass by this marker, pause, and learn. And in that moment, our mission is fulfilled. Today is also a reminder that preservation is never the work of one person. It is always a collective effort. On behalf of the Society, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Senator Moore and to Representative Minor Brown for sponsoring this marker. Your support has been instrumental in making today possible. We're also incredibly grateful to the Delaware Public Archives for their dedication, professionalism, and persistence throughout this entire process. From the earliest stages of planning to the final unveiling, your work has been nothing short of wonderful. I would also like to recognize Mark Wise and his staff at the fort. Their continued support of the Society is something that we deeply value. Many of you may not know this, but Mark attends our Society meetings each month, keeping us informed and engaged with the ongoing work at the fort. That level of partnership speaks volumes about his commitment, not just to the site, but to the community that supports it. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the members of Fort Delaware Society. Without your continued dedication, none of this would be possible. You are the foundation of everything that we do. I'd also personally like to recognize our board of directors. Your leadership, your time, and your unwavering commitment have guided this project from idea to reality. This achievement belongs to all of you. I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the two individuals in particular, Mr. Glenn Pusey and Walt Hartman. When Glenn served as president, he recognized early that this marker was something worth pursuing, that it was an opportunity to further our mission in a meaningful and lasting way. When Walt later took on the role of president, he carried that vision forward with determination and care, alongside the support of my close friend Taylor Reynolds. Walt and Glenn were truly the driving force behind this effort. They navigated the application process, sustained momentum, and ensured that this idea became a reality. I simply have the privilege of standing here today to speak to you about what they helped to build. In many ways, the unveiling of this marker can feel like the closing of a chapter. It represents years of work, collaboration, and dedication. But I want to be very clear, this is not the ending. Fort Delaware Society is not finished. In fact, moments like this remind us that our work continues. There is still work to be done. There are still opportunities to educate, to preserve, and to inspire. This marker is not just about looking back, it is about moving forward with purpose. I cannot fully express how proud I am of this society, of our board, and of the partnerships that we have built within this community. It is truly an honor to play even a small role in this meaningful achievement. Before I close, I want to extend an invitation to all of you. If you have not yet had the opportunity, I'd like, if you get a chance to go today, I know it's kind of windy, but take a look at the fort, get a chance to get out there, maybe this summer when it's a little bit nicer. I'd also like to invite you to our society headquarters over at Fort DuPont. We're going to be open today from 11 to 2. The museum is open. It's free of charge. Go over there and check that out. Thank you again for being here, for your support, and helping us continue to preserve and share the legacy of Fort Delaware. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Nicole Poor. I'm your state senator. Before I even get started, I see some of the city council members. Can you all raise your hands, please, so everybody can see you? Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and for all your support of Delaware City. Also, I see our former mayor, Stan Green's here. So great to see you. And also, I want to thank our Senate historian, Dick Carter, who is such an amazing, inspiring person, and thank you, Dick, for joining us today. So, on behalf of Representative Mimi Minor Brown, sorry, I'm a little cold. I'm sure everybody else is as well. But thank you for being here with us today. Since 1859, Fort Delaware has served as a reminder of the military sacrifice, the lasting legacy of wartime, and the importance of preserving historic sites for education of generations to come. The current fort was originally built in the mid-1800s as a defense post in the Delaware River to protect the ports of Wilmington and Philadelphia. But like so many of our American landscape, Fort Delaware was changed by the Civil War. The fort soon became a Union prison, housing more than 33,000 Confederate POWs over the course of the war. After the Second World War, the federal government transferred ownership of the fort back to the state of Delaware, where it would become our first state parks, one of our first state parks. Thanks to the terrific work of our historians, our interpreters, our passionate volunteers, and state employees, Fort Delaware has been restored to the living, breathing historical site. Interactive sites like this one remind us that the American history is all around us in the 12th District, from the old Newcastle Courthouse to the Reed House and Gardens, and here at Fort Delaware. This history of Delaware is so vast and rich that these blue historical markers can be seen like a built-in part of our landscape. But each and every one of them is the result of experts and advocates who know the importance of understanding the teachings of our shared history. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, for your work in securing this historical marker. Your support is invaluable for ensuring future generations can come and learn. Thank you so much.
All right, now that everyone is good and cold, it's time to unveil the marker. Just as a reminder, everyone, there will be a firing volley, so please be prepared for a bit of noise as soon as the marker cover drops. And if we can have everybody come on over. We're going to count down from 5.